go. Unfreaking believable. Unbelievable. I gotta be honest with you. That game drove me nuts. I cannot believe the Buccaneers lost that game. Wow. I don't even know what to say. Tough one. Man, that was an absolute blazer from Cooch, wasn't it? What a crazy game. The Bulls are bowl-bound for the third season in a row. An incredible performance. And listen, we know the competition. They did what they had to do. No more silver linings. No more moral victories. It was put up or shut up time. And boy, did they rise to the occasion. Steve, I'm back. Are we unmuted? Are we here? Thank you, Marissa. Thank you, Steve. We are back. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? I swear to God, I know what I'm doing. Hear me now. All right. Welcome to the Recher podcast. Happy March 4th, 2026. Let's start that again. Literally had no voice on Monday. And then my dumb ass goes out there on practice Monday thinking I'm not going to speak a lot. And that didn't happen. Yesterday, if you could tell, I was at the beach and I look a lot less red than I did. You can kind of, yeah, there you go, baby. I'm showing some cleavage here on the program. Look at that color. Holy smokes. God damn. I would show you a nip, but it's not that. It's a family-friendly show. So, my God. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Make sure when you go to the beach, you wear SPF 5 million because, yeah, I'm still feeling it. My stomach, yeah. I look like the Kool-Aid guy. It's crazy. Yeah, so everything was great Friday night at the Callahan event. Just an incredible gala, the night of dreams, and just to be able to go out there and help support a cause to raise money for families that are affected by pediatric cancer. I'm truly humbled and honored that I could be a part of that group. So again, RyanCallahanFoundation.org. Head on over there. All your information on how you can help out as well. Yeah. Big shout out to all you guys. Janet Best, Steve Garner, Marissa, our guy Rolly in the house as well. And Tori Falzone. Thank you guys so much. Benny's here. What's up, Benny? Benny, there's like 12 different comments before you, Benny. You need to step your game up. Saturday, Sunday, a good weekend. What did I do Saturday? Oh, Lightning game on Saturday. It was a rough contest against Buffalo. We'll talk about the Bolts here to start the show. Of course, we have Erik Erlendsson, lightninginsider.com, joining us at 1 o'clock today. And then Sunday, going to the USF men's basketball game. We're going to talk about Coach Bryan Hodgson in a little bit. Tomorrow on the program, we'll have Dr. Carlos Rodriguez with the Ever Health Injury Report at 12:30. At 1 o'clock, Lewis Hilton will join us. Tampa Bay Rowdies. Their first game is actually Saturday night. It's not home. It's on the road. But he'll join us at 1 o'clock. And then, of course, Eddie and Cena are going to join us at 1:30 from the Tampa Bay Times. Friday, we're going to try to celebrate International Women's Day. It's on Sunday the 8th. So we're going to do it on Friday and try to have a bunch of different ladies from the sports media world on the program. So I'll be working on that today and tomorrow. Again, couldn't do this without you guys. So please follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, and then like and subscribe on YouTube. Subscribers over 2,200. I can't thank you guys enough for that. And make sure you're checking out my guy, Jared Guthrie, and my friends over at 813 Preps, 813preps.com, the best high school baseball coverage that you're ever going to see. And last night I was over at Tampa Prep for Tampa Prep and Tampa Catholic. I got a couple of interviews up with Cole Bittman, as well as Talon Miranda and Finn Fluker. What a great name, Finn Fluker. And shout out to his dad, Ref. This guy has been following me since back in the day when I was an intern with Ron and Ian. So shout out to the Fluker fam. A big win for TC as they stay undefeated on the season. Coach Paulie and the 9 other coaches there have done such a wonderful job. Huge matchup coming up on Saturday. I know they have a game coming up tonight against Carrollwood Day School, but Saturday is the day at noon at Higher Park. Jesuit and Tampa Catholic, the biggest rivalry when it comes to high school baseball in the state of Florida. Tampa Catholic and Jesuit. I'll be over there. I'll be late because we have games in Plant City at 8 and 10, it looks like. But get on over there because you'll see alumni for the last 100 years going to that game. It's going to be a lot of fun. Tampa Catholic, Jesuit. Jesuit's only lost 1 game to IMG, and Tampa Catholic is undefeated. So that is going to be a hell of a contest. Talon Miranda looks like will probably get the start for the Crusaders, and it'll be either Caden Wechter or Wilson Anderson, somebody throwing in the mid to upper 90s for the Tigers. That is going to be can't miss. John P. Hayden, Tampa wheels fell off the bus. We'll discuss that in a minute. Today, coming up on the show, we'll start with some Lightning talk. We'll also talk about Mike Evans and how this is a legacy-defining month for him. There's been so much talk about Mike Evans, and I put this out on Twitter the other day. Everybody keeps having this discussion. Well, I swear he's going to stay. I swear he's going to leave. And it's just a lot. And it's the same shit over and over and over again. And I just want to talk about why his decision will end up defining his legacy, regardless of what it is. Also, Junior Caminero. He was phenomenal yesterday for the Dominican Republic as they get ready for the World Baseball Classic with an exhibition against the Detroit Tigers. But why the Tampa Bay Rays need to be smart with how they handle Junior Caminero, because I think this will tell the fan base in the long run how serious they are about this team. And then also, before we get to Erik Erlendsson at 1 o'clock, Coach Bryan Hodgson, what he's been able to do in year 1 with USF. I don't think it could have gone any better. And the reason why is because he's embraced the foundation set forth by the late great Amir Abdur-Rahim. And I feel like when you go and you're one of the people that are on the backside of a transition like that, how you handle that means everything. Because it is a very direct and a very it's quick. People see your character right off the rip. And it's hard. It's very revealing and it's transparent. It gives you almost a peek into these guys' hearts and souls. And like, what are they built on? What are they all about? And the way that he has been able to go about his business and put USF into a position to succeed, I think it speaks volumes of the man he is. Not even so much the coach, but the man that Bryan Hodgson is. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Who else saw the AI slop rendering video from the Rays? I'm so over renderings. I really am. Let's start with the Tampa Bay Lightning and what happened last night. Listen, it is ugly. And I'm talking UGLY. You ain't got no alibi. You ugly. That was, again, this isn't the same Tampa Bay Lightning team that we saw before the break. And I hope we can all understand that. You look at the mistake Andrei Vasilevsky made to make it 3-1. I don't think he had a good angle on the Zuccarello goal on the 4-on-3. It's hard. And for much of the hockey fans out there that are just pointing at the players that were in the Olympics and saying, oh, those guys are tired and they're fatigued. It's not just them. It's the players that just didn't play for a couple of weeks. And you can try to simulate it all you want in practice, and you could try to have up-tempo scrimmages and inter squad. It doesn't matter. There's nothing that simulates live action. Woohoo, live action of an NHL game. It's just, there's nothing like it. So it looks like Vazzy and the rest of the guys, even though that first game was okay, they're just a little rusty. They are not on their P's and Q's. And when I look at this team, I don't see a team that should be going 11-7. I know they're clearly missing some guys up front. And let's not forget people talking about, all right, well, this guy should be here. And this guy, you lose Gage Gonsalves, you lose Dominic James, Nick Paul's already out. That's 3 of probably your top 9 forwards. That's not easy. And just because the Lightning have been able to do a great job this year of mitigating those injuries and playing at a high level, it doesn't mean you're going to be perfect all year long. And I think they do have some concerns with how they're going to matriculate what the back end is going to look like. I think playing 11-7 is throwing off the vibe with this team. I think it's throwing off the chemistry with this team. They were going 12-6 when they had all those injuries on the blue line, and maybe in years past it would work out 11-7 because you had veterans. And think about it, when this team really was operating at a high level and it was 11-7, the back end of your blue line was guys like Zach Bogosian and Luke Shen, right? These are veterans. They can play with a bunch of different partners. They didn't care if they played 18 or 8 minutes a night. And then also when you looked up front, Pat Maroon was one of those guys too. So he could kind of play his own game. And you didn't have to mix and match and worry about him being thrown off kilter. But right now, I don't see that same flow with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Steve, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Our Carolina correspondent. NHL trade deadline approaching. Bolts buying. Could a guy like Kiefer Sherwood help? Stamkos returning. Most intriguing player on the trade block in the NHL. I'll start with that last one. When I watched that game last night between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Minnesota Wild, it was so much more about what Minnesota is than what the Tampa Bay Lightning are. Minnesota is a problem. They are a big problem. And if they can continue to get goaltending like they've gotten this year from Gustafsson, they might be my favorite coming out of the West. And I'm saying that over Vegas, and I'm saying that over Colorado. I watched the game again last night. You could say all you want about Cale Makar. Right now, as we speak, right now, Quinn Hughes is the best defenseman in the world. And it's, Cale Makar can score all the goals that he wants, but it's not just offensively for Quinn Hughes. Defensively, he plays more than anybody. He is the number one defenseman in the world right now. No doubt about it. And the most intriguing player to me is Vincent Trocheck. If the Minnesota Wild can go out and get him and bring him into the fold, knowing what he does well, and I would love for the Lightning to get him, but he's a top 6 forward that can win draws. He can play on the power play, he can play on the penalty kill. He's got the experience of playing in the Olympics. That makes them hella dangerous. You look at Faber and Quinn Hughes and Spurgeon and Brodin and Bogosian and Middleton. Like, they have 6 dynamite defensemen. And then I've always been a big Joel Eriksson Ek fan. He's one of the hardest guys to play against in the league. He's another good faceoff guy. To go with Kaprizov and Matthew Boldy and Matt Zuccarello, right? Ryan Hartman's a grinder, a tough guy to play against. And then you bring in Vinny Trocheck into the fold. Yikes. That is a problem. That team is a problem. And if I'm them, and I know they just went out and they got Mike McCarron, and people say, oh, that's too high of a price for a grinder. It's different. It's different when you're a team that's close. When you're as close as they are, that's not too high of a price. It's not. Go get the damn guy. We see that with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Oh, that price is too high for a Blake Coleman or Barclay Goodrow or Brandon Hagel. Look at it now. It's like, all right, well, it was probably worth it. Now, could Kiefer Sherwood help? Yes. Stamkos returning, Bolts buying. I think the Bolts will buy. And that's why. And Karen, hello, Karen, our good friend. That's why I think when you look at this, I think this is the perfect time for the Tampa Bay Lightning to struggle. Now, do you ever want them to lose games? No. But as we inch closer to the NHL trade deadline, playing the way that they're playing right now is exposing some of their flaws. A lot of people ask me in the last 2 weeks, well, what do the Lightning need at the trade deadline? And it's awfully tough to give you an answer when they're 21-1 in their last 22 games. Nobody was like pounding the table saying they need this, they need that. And of course you want to get better on faceoffs, maybe a right-handed shot. And we thought that a guy like Vincent Trocheck, and I keep throwing the name Steven Stamkos out there, they could be options, right? But it's awfully hard to think that you should tinker too much with a team, as I just alluded to, that was 21-1 in their last 22 games. But now, struggling out of the break from the Olympics, now you can kind of see some of the issues that they have, especially if these injuries are going to be long-term to Nick Paul and Gage Gonsalves and Dominic James. And you saw Connor Geekie get called up from AHL Syracuse. Now, he's been waiting for this moment all year long. But Connor Geekie is a guy that if you were going to accentuate his strengths, it's not playing on the fourth line with Oliver Bjorkstrand and Scott Sabrin. It's just not. You need him to be a top 6 forward. Now, is he ready for that right now? I don't know, and I don't know if the Tampa Bay Lightning know either. Even though he's had a damn good year with Syracuse, making the All-Star game. He's like a point per game player, but it's a completely different ball game when you're at the NHL level. You again know what your top 5 forwards are going to be: Cirelli and Hagel, Kucherov, Point, and Gensel. Who's going to be that 6th guy? I don't know if he's on this roster. I don't. You need to figure out what's going to happen in that top 6. And now, as much as I would love to have a face-off guy and I'd love to have a right-handed shot, I think it's getting another forward in that top 6. And I know there was a name like Cole Smith out there, and people were talking about, oh, that could be somebody to bring in for the Tampa Bay Lightning. I don't know if bottom 6 is necessarily their issue. I think it's getting a guy on the top 6. And when you look at Oliver Bjorkstrand, how many chances did he have last night? My God. And he just doesn't perform at a high enough level for this team. If he goes somewhere else, he'll probably have more success. He's just snake bitten. He's just not a good fit for the Lightning. And they've tried, but I think it would behoove, I think it would behoove Julian Brisebois to try to move on from Oliver Bjorkstrand and use him in some semblance of a package to bring somebody in. Is Steven Stamkos that guy? I mean, I keep saying till I'm blue in the face, and I keep throwing that out into the atmosphere, but I honestly don't know if that is going to happen. I told you last week the 4 things that would need to happen. Then you can go back into the channel. I'm going to actually post it a little bit later on. But they do need something. And I don't think it's the blue line. I don't. They have to get back to 6 defensemen. And the 6 defensemen are Moser and Radish, McDonough and Chernak, Hedman and Dastu. What does that mean for Emil Lilleberg? I don't know. He did not look comfortable last night. You're not trading Victor Hedman. And I know that there were some whispers of people wondering, is Hedman the odd man out here? You could think that. But it's not going to happen. He's the captain of this team. And he's a guy that is signed for a while. I just don't see that as an option, no matter how good or bad you think Hedman's playing. But then you look at up front. You know what I mentioned, the 5 forwards, 3 more. Gord, Gergensons, and Holmberg. So you have, in essence, 8 of your 12 forwards locked in. When Paul comes back, he'll be 9. What happens with the other guys that are banged up? We don't know. And for all the somebody said yesterday, oh, you should trade Curtis Douglas. What is that going to give you a return? You got him on waivers. You're going to keep Douglas and Sabrin as guys that you can interject in the lineup when you need some thump, when you need guys that are willing to drop the gloves, and guys that are, I don't want to say be okay, but kind of understand what their role is. They might not play for a week or 2. Curtis Douglas is, I'm just so happy to be here, guy. He's a phenomenal. But if you're the Tampa Bay Lightning, these struggles, I think, have happened at the perfect time. You get an idea of where your roster is right now. You have an idea of what this injury or how this injury bug is going to affect you up front with Gage Gonzalez and Dominic James and with Nick Paul. And Julian Brisebois has a decent idea of what their timeline is right now. And he'll handle that appropriately. I got faith in him. I really do. And don't expect this skid to stop right away. It's going to take some time. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Everybody thinks, oh, they're just going to snap out. And they may as well. You know, they could. They could snap out of it tomorrow night. Don't get me wrong. But with that being said, you're on the road for the next 3. You go to Winnipeg to take on the Jets. And they aren't having the greatest year, but they do have Connor Hellebuck in net. You travel to Toronto on Saturday night. And then a back-to-back on Sunday at 6 against the Buffalo Sabres, who just beat you at home last week or earlier this week. Early Wednesday? Yeah, last week. Doesn't get easier. Then you play Columbus next Tuesday, Detroit, and Carolina. So this is going to be a tough little go. And then you go on the road after that for your Western Canada trip, Seattle, and then Vancouver, Edmonton and Calgary. So things don't get any easier for the Lightning here in the month of March. It could get a little worse before it gets better. So don't freak out. And that's what I'm waiting for somebody else to say too. Are you freaking out about the Tampa Bay Lightning? Not at all. Not at all. You don't want them to peak too early. You want to get them into a position where they understand where they're at. They know that if they are at their best and they're playing the game the right way, that they can play with anybody in the National Hockey League. You don't go 21-1 by accident. But is that realistic to be able to sustain that throughout the entire 82-game regular season? No, not even freaking close. Not even freaking close. But I'm hoping that Julian Brisebois gives his team a jolt. Pun definitely intended. I mean, can you imagine? I keep saying it. Can you imagine if they find a way to bring Steven Stamkos back? I'm just keep putting it in the atmosphere. That's what I'm just going to keep on doing. Before we move on to the Mike Evans thing, I just want to remind everybody, when you hear the Lightning are linked with this guy, the Lightning are linked with that guy, very rarely do you hear the Lightning are linked with so-and-so and then they trade for him. Julian keeps his shit so close to the vest that you don't hear it until it's too late. Brandon Hagel, people don't even know who Brandon Hagel was. And you know I love Hags, but it just, nobody saw that coming. There you go. Barclay Goodrow and Blake Coleman. Nobody saw that coming. There's more talk about Blake Coleman now. I don't see that happening. But nobody was clamoring for Blake Coleman here in the Tampa Bay area. The Lightning were actually looking on how to fix their penalty kill when they were watching the San Jose Sharks, and then they said, well, what about that guy? And then they traded for Barclay Goodrow. So for all these experts out there that, yeah, really experts, great stuff, don't believe everything you hear. Sometimes the top team sliding late, then riding the ship can really help playoff momentum. You got that right, pal. You are totally right. Our correspondent, Steve Gana, our Carolina correspondent. All right, let's talk some Mike Evans. Is everybody sick and tired about the Mike Evans discussion? Raise your hand. The same shit over and over and over and over and over again. Mike is going to leave. Mike is going to stay. I said those are the four things you keep hearing every single day. It's every single day. Jeremiah Love's the best player in the draft. Mike Evans is staying, or Mike Evans is leaving. What was the other thing? Oh, yeah, Brady Tkachuk and Austin Matthews. They're going to leave this summer. It's the same thing over and over and over. Nobody wants to see USF in the NCAA tournament. Like, everybody comes out with this shit like it's breaking news. Your opinions are not new and fresh. You're just copying what everybody else is saying. That shit is low-hanging fruit, and it's lame. Sorry. Not doing that here, folks. Not on the Jay Recher podcast. Not on my watch. Real quick, this umpire last night for Tampa Catholic and Tampa Prep, he was one of those guys. Not on my watch. That's not happening on my watch. I'm like, dude, nobody's here to watch you. Nobody's here to watch you. He literally threw out a mom last night because she said, how much are they paying you? Like, I thought it was pretty funny that she said that. And he threw her out. I'm like, come on, man. Rabbit ears behind the plate. Take this shit way too serious, bro. You're getting paid to umpire high school baseball. Relax. But the Mike Evans thing. Everybody and their mother is saying he's going to stay. He's going to leave. Adam Schefter said this. Ian Rappaport says this. His agent, Derek Gilmore, says this. Listen, you want to know why a guy like Tom Krasniqi is as good as he is at what he does? Go back and listen to that Derek Gilmore interview. One of the worst interviews. I don't want to say worst interviews, but one of the worst interviewees. Does that make sense? Interviewees. Bro, this guy sounds so like didn't even want to be there. He didn't sound like any of his information was that pertinent. And I don't really know if we were able to glean it. And Tom did everything to kind of bring it out of him. Go back and listen to it. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Tom is just, he stayed on it. But this guy was just, oh my God, just too much. And then we see the demands of Mike Evans. He wants to play with this. He wants to wants to play with a good quarterback. He wants a chance to win. He wants targets, blah, blah, blah. Does this sound like Mike Evans? Does this sound like a guy that has been deferential when it comes to targets and being a leader for this wide receiver core? The non-diva? It's just very, very strange. Very, very strange. But when I look at this entire thing, yeah, and Benny, you got it. Derek Gilmore interview was terrible and no part of T-Cries. Gilmore forgot he was talking to Tampa fans. I'm with you. But I want to be completely honest with you guys. Know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying? The decision that Mike Evans makes will ultimately affect his legacy forever, whether people want to admit it or not. And when it comes to the Mike Evans situation, there are so many people that are giving their opinion on something like this with their heart and not their head. There's so much bias when it comes to the Mike Evans situation that people are not thinking clearly. If your rationale that Mike Evans is not leaving the Tampa Bay area because you yourself cannot envision him being in another uniform other than the Buccaneers, that's not an unbiased opinion. That's not being objective. That is talking from your heart and not using your brain. I don't care what Mike said in the past. I don't. And people are going to say, well, Mike said this and Mike said that. Listen, there's been a lot of athletes over the years that said they were going to do one thing and they did completely different. At the end of the day, this is a business. At the end of the day, the teams get rid of the players just like that. So all this talk about loyalty is one of the most overblown things. And hometown discounts, that don't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. Hometown discounts. You're telling me Mike Evans would give the Bucs a hometown discount? He would play for $5 million? Would he do that? No. You want to make sure that you get paid proper market value. Now, could you give $1 million here or there? Maybe. But you don't have to. There's nothing in your contract that says you need to do something like that. But whatever decision that Mike Evans makes will ultimately affect his legacy. Because you would think if he stays here, it'll probably be his last contract and he'll finish his entire career as a Buccaneer. And he will be discussed in the same conversation as Derek Brooks and Rondé Barber. It's different for guys that play their entire career with one team. It is. It's not better or worse. It's just different. You can do whatever the hell you want. You've earned the right. But there's something different about Sidney Crosby. There's something different about Alexander Ovechkin. There's something different about Derek Jeter. There's something different about these guys that play on one team because it's so rare, so few and far between because of free agency, because of trades, because you may not have the same opinion about your career as your employer does. So whatever decision that Mike Evans makes, it will affect his legacy. Again, it doesn't matter if it's better or worse, but it will change it. Especially if he leaves. Is he well within his right to do so? Absolutely. But at this, if you're one of those people that are like, he's going to stay no matter what, just take a step back for a second. Take a step back. Step away from the stove a little bit. If Mike Evans truly wanted to stay here and only here, why in the blue hell are we at this point right now? Why does your agent go on local radio to discuss the terms of your deal, to discuss what you're looking for as you're in the twilight of your career? Why? Why would you do that? Because of leverage. There's no other way. There's no other reason. There's no other reason why your agent goes on local radio to talk about Mike other than leverage. That's it. Because why would you? Why would you jeopardize saying the wrong thing? You know what you're doing. You hold all the cards. It's your prerogative to do whatever you want. And if Mike ultimately leaves, it's his decision. That's whatever. Whatever. But don't tell me that Mike Evans is just going to stay here because you feel that way. I got an inkling. That's not right. It's weird. And listen, just because you feel that way, I'm going to tell you how much has to do with Mike's decision. Zero. Nada. Because if it was just about the inkling of being loyal to Tampa and his fans, there would be no decision. The contract would already be signed. There's obviously some type of hesitation for Mike Evans. Does it mean he's ultimately not going to sign here? No, I don't think so. But it's not 100%. And if you think it is, you're lying to yourself. If you ask me would I want Mike Evans back next year? Yeah, I would love to see Mike not ever play in another Buccaneer uniform. Do I think it would be better if he left when it comes to the Buccaneers? And like, I can't even say yes because of like the salary cap, because as my old co-host Zach Blobner once said, that the salary cap's a myth. They can make it work. Transfer that money to a signing bonus, restructure contracts, kick that money down the road when it comes to dead cap money. So for all this talk of like, oh, if Mike Evans resigns, it's going to put them in cap hell. So if he leaves, it'll be good because, you know, they could spend that money elsewhere. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. Everybody in this Mike Evans situation, take your heart out of it. Just be honest with yourself. Look at what's going on. Mike doesn't know. He may be leaning one way. He probably is leaning to return. I wouldn't dispute that. But the fact that we are at this point, the fact that there's a lot of other people saying different things, the fact that his agent goes on local radio, that should tell you, even the most diehard Mike Evans and Buccaneers fan, that this shit isn't a slam dunk. Why would you do that? Why would you flirt with these other teams? Why do you want to see what else is out there? I don't understand that. And that's why this decision, and for all the people out there that continuously want to lump this situation together, this wasn't the same thing with Steven Stamkos. Steven Stamkos wanted to stay. He wasn't flirting with other teams. Steven Stamkos says, this is what I want my number to be. The Lightning says, well, no, this is actually where we're at. And then they really couldn't come to an agreement. And then Stamkos went somewhere else. This is different with Mike Evans. This is go see what you can do. Go see what you can get. He may have an idea what that number is, but it's not the same as Stammer, because Stammer tried to work it out first. Mike, he's playing his options. He's playing the field. He's dating. He's got a hall pass. It is what it is. People don't like that shit, but it's the reality of the situation. You may not like how things are going down with Mike Evans. You may swear you know one way how it's going to go. But the only reality of the situation is he doesn't know 100%. And he's out there flirting with other girls after being in a long-term relationship. Yeah. Shout out to our guy, Robert Cochran. Mike has earned this. I'm not mad either way. Tomorrow's his 27th birthday. My Thunder beating your Knicks tonight, Jay Bird. You're done to me. You're suspended for 5 seconds. Cowboys just did that for Dak. Conceded to get Pickens tag under the cap. Who hurt me? Nobody. Nobody hurts me, buddy. Yep. Broly, all media and agent talk. 10 straight 1,000-yard season. The targets argument is false. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. And happy birthday to our guy, Robert. That whole targets argument, that is bullshit. Bro, you get targeted as much as anybody. You get force-fed the ball as much as anybody. It's been like that shit since day one. You're telling me you're worried about targets where this team literally jeopardized a playoff berth 2 seasons ago to make sure that you get 1,000 yards. It's so funny how the short-term memories of people in the sports world. Like, we were there. I was there. I heard the rumble in the building. Mike's worried about targets with Baker? That's not true. If you tell me that he's worried about the defense and he's worried about Todd Bowles and Jason Light and that this team may not be a Super Bowl contender, that's much more believable than the whole target thing. But as Ian said a couple of weeks ago on Beckles and Recher, and we got Beckles and Recher coming up at about 2:30 today, where's the guarantee? Where's the guarantee that those teams will be that much better than the Bucs? Go to Buffalo. Is Buffalo better than New England? Some people will say yes, but New England was in the Super Bowl last year. Chiefs? Chiefs didn't even make the playoffs last year. Chargers? Broncos? Who would you take going into next season as winning that division? It's not as easy as just seeing the Chiefs every year anymore, is it? It might just be staying in Tampa Bay, because as much as New Orleans seems to be happy getting Tyler Shuck, and Carolina's taken a step forward, and Atlanta with their new coach. I mean, sometimes the devil you know is better than the devil you don't. And the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And if you're Mike Evans and you have a mediocre year, people are still going to love you in Tampa Bay. If you have a mediocre year somewhere else, they may say that you were just out there for the money grab. Let's go to Houston. Okay, great defense there. But do you trust C.J. Stroud more than Baker Mayfield? They have trouble running the football. They just went out and traded for David Montgomery. They're trying to shore that up. Their offensive line it's been a work in progress since the team came out of, since the team started. Just go ask David Carr. We got our guy Chan in the house. Howdy, everyone. What's going on, buddy? Good to see you. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Guys, every single super chat helps. $1, $2, $5, $10, $20. I can't thank you guys enough. And, of course, our partners, Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, for all your residential and commercial needs. 813-244-0956. I got to put out some of the pictures. I was at one of the new builds the other day in St. Pete with Hammer. This house is amazing. And the first place that we went to, I told you they were going and putting a mini soccer field in. Insane. I'll be up on my social media by the end of the week. Incredible. And, of course, EverHealth. EverHealth injury report tomorrow at 12:30 with Dr. Carlos Rodriguez. 17 different locations in Pinellas County. They're really the new age when it comes to healthcare. EverHealth.org. Tell them both. Honest Hammer and EverHealth. You heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast. David Carr smack. Wow, I forgot this guy even existed. David Carr, Derek Carr. Guys, we're getting closer and closer to the new t-shirts and sweatshirts. I'm giving you guys a sneak peek at one of the logos that we're working on. This is because you're locked in right now. It's not completely done, okay? But we're on our way. Check this one out. What do you guys think? Jay Recher podcast, City of Tampa, Skyway Bridge, headphones, microphone, the badass shoes with the sparkles, the Jay Recher podcast, hockey, football, baseball. Cool, right? That's the color. This is the black and white version. So we're getting there. We're getting close. We're getting close. I want to switch the baseball glove up a little bit in the baseball. But everything else I really like. I really like. So Benny wants it. So we'll have t-shirts and sweatshirts and then we'll go from there. We're going to keep it pretty simple as far as just kind of like black and white t-shirts. And then I want to try to do something else too, like on the back where it's going to say Wrecking Crew on it. But I want to do something where you guys can kind of personalize it too. I want to see how that goes, because I always think, because I have like sweatshirts and shirts and stuff, and on the back I like putting like Recher 10 on it and stuff. I want to see if we can do that as well, because it'd be cool to be having like, it's almost like a college basketball or like a international basketball thing where you have like your name on the top and then the number, and then the bottom's like usually the sponsor, but it would be, like mine would say Recher 10 and then hashtag Wrecking Crew, right? So like Rollies could say like 34 Rolly or Lady Evil 34 hashtag Wrecking Crew on the bottom, right? Or Benny 69 hashtag Wrecking Crew. You know what I'm saying? Janet Best. Janet, what number would you be? Best one. That Janet, you better get number one. Best one hashtag Wrecking Crew on the bottom. That'd be cool, right? We're working on it, man. We're getting closer and closer and closer. So just bear with me. And there's one shirt I'm going to buy, and it's for our guy Jeff Taylor. He's been busting my chops, but we'll definitely get that done. Looks like Tyler Myers, right-handed defenseman from Vancouver, getting traded to Dallas for a second-round pick in 27, fourth-round pick in 29. Vancouver retaining 58% of the Myers contract, which makes him a $1.5 million player this year and next. That's a huge dude. Tyler Myers, one of the tallest players in the game. Elliot Friedman says the Lightning really like their group, but they could get a third line forward that they think could add some offense. I do see them doing something, yes. Wow. Unbelievable. All these like half-ass things of like, I could see him making a move, and then I could just see them not making a move. And then, you know what I mean? That's like my thoughts. Like my thoughts are, I think this could happen. And then on the other side, like I could just see it not happening. Thanks, bud. Thanks. Really revealing. Glad you're an insider. Let's see. You already know. I heard Geeky got called up, but I couldn't watch last night. Did you do anything? He had a break. Kind of like a half breakaway on a really nice pass from Victor Hedman, and shot it, and good save by Gustafsson. But I don't know, man. When I watch Geeky, I'm just, he's not as fast as he needs to be. And I'm surprised that he's not quicker. And we'll see over these next couple of games with Dominic James on IR and Gates Gonzalez and Nick Paul being out. But, you know, the best acquisition the Lightning could make is Connor Geeky getting called up. But I was not impressed with the foot speed yesterday. And when you have Bob Underhill as one of the best skating coaches on the planet working with you, I just, that's what I got to see. He's tough. He's got a good shot. I got to see some speed. And I also want to see a chance, and we saw a little bit of it last night. I think the Lightning really have to give him a look these next couple of games and playing him in that top six. So what I want to see in the next week is I want to see Point, Kucherov, and Geeky. I talked about this shit about 12 months ago. Point, Kucherov, and Geeky. Cirelli, Hagel, and Gensel. Gergensons, Holmberg, and Gord. And then your fourth line of Sabrin, Douglas, and Bjorkstrand. Until you get those guys back. Because, again, when those guys come back, I think it'll be Paul on the third line with Gonsalves and somebody else. Probably Bjorkstrand, and that Gord line slides down to 4. So getting that third line, what you're going to do for that third line, if you acquire players, you bump that Gord line down to the fourth line, which isn't the worst thing in the world. I think, in essence, that is what's going to be the most important thing for them. I just saw I saw the big deal. Chiefs trading all-pro corner Trent McDuffie to the Rams in exchange for first-round pick, 5th and 6th. They get a 3rd in 2027. I like this, man. I F them picks. Go out and get players. That's why this Buccaneer thing, and we're going to talk about this with our pal Ian at about 2:30 today. What kind of player do we want to get for the pass rush for the Bucs? I saw John Ledyard hopping on with T-Kraz saying that he would trade a 1st, a 3rd, and Luke Gedeke for Max Crosby. Yeah, do something. Do something. Be bold. Be bold. Be bold. Go out there and do something. And speaking about being bold, if I'm the Tampa Bay Rays, I am looking with what's going on. And Jeff Taylor, I see you, buddy. I know you're going to get that shirt, pal. If you're the Rays, you need to look at what's going on with Junior Caminero. And you have to understand that the way that you go about him is going to tell a lot of people what your intentions are with this ball club. In a lineup filled with superstars for the Dominican Republic, the one guy that stood out was the number 6 hitter, the third baseman for your Tampa Bay Rays, Junior Caminero, who hit 4 piss missiles in that exhibition against the Detroit Tigers. He is one of the most talented players in Major League Baseball, and it's not close. People were worried. So, and remember this conversation again. I'm so worried, and I really wish the Tampa Bay Rays would stop operating out of fear. Oh, we're gonna deal with kid gloves, and we got to send him down because he's not ready. Bullshit! You're not winning anything. Put the heat on these guys. See what they're made of. Put the freaking magnifying glass on the ant and see if they're gonna burn. Like I don't get it. You thrust Junior into the third spot last year, playing third, and he's shined bright like a diamond. The kid is not going to back away. He's one of the best players in all of baseball right now, and he's not going to get worse. He's going to get better because he puts in the work, and you can see he's around town. I saw him during the Lightning practice inside with Ryan Pepio and Ian Seymour. He's learning English. Like, he's really doing everything he can so he could be a leader for this team, not just now, but 3 years and 5 years from now. He's making the effort. What do the Rays do? What do the Tampa Bay Rays do with Junior Caminero? Because how they handle the Caminero situation will speak volumes about their intentions with this team. It sucks that we talk about the Rays is when Junior Caminero leaves. Why? And they don't realize that this is part of the reason why people are so apathetic with this club. We just had the discussion about 20 minutes ago about Mike Evans, about if he leaves the Tampa Bay area, how that's going to affect his legacy. Whether people want to admit it or not, it's different when you're a guy that is with one team your entire career. It's completely different. You are revered. You are looked at. It's a different ball game. You are looked at as an exception. You are looked at as special. People shine a light on you that they don't shine on everybody else because you were there from the beginning to the end. And I know you may get drafted by a different team, and I'm talking about your entire playing career with the big club. And I use Kobe Bryan as an example, and I know he got drafted by the Hornets, but he got traded on draft night, and he was a Laker his entire career. That means something to people. The fact that Magic Johnson was a Laker and only a Laker means something. The fact that Larry Bird was a Celtic and only a Celtic means something to people. Derek Jeter, John Elway, right? Elway? Yeah, because I know he got drafted by the Colts, but he only played for the Broncos. It means something. Think about it. You're a diehard fan. John Lynch, Warren Sapp. Weird. It's weird now. I see John Mimosa in the house. Bro, I'm not a Blackhawks fan. Weird as shit seeing Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane in a different uniform. Don't like it. Never wanted to see it. Ever. That's sports, unfortunately. That's the harrowing side. That's the negative side. But it does affect how you look at guys. Doesn't mean you like them any less, but it's different. The fact that you don't even get a chance to see that with our Tampa Bay Rays, it cuts your legs out from underneath you as a fan. And that is why, if you are the Rays owners, you do whatever the hell it takes to put everything behind Junior Caminero. I don't give a shit what happened with Wander Franco. This is not a cautionary tale situation. You have to do something drastic. Pay that man. And keep him here. I thought you should have made a play for Kyle Tucker. I thought you should have made a play for Pete Alonso. You have to do things outside of the box. You got to show people that you care about this community. Ken Babby's out there. These guys are on social media. They're glad handing people. They're kissing babies. They're looking like they're running for local office. It's a good start. Put your money where your mouth is. Put your checkbook where your mouth is. I don't want you out there just shaking hands because Stu did that shit. Keep a team together. Keep players here for a decade or more. Have people spend $100, $200 on a jersey and go, I can wear this shit for the next 7 years because I know this guy is not going anywhere. I saw one of the oldest Victor Hedman jerseys the other day, way back. It had to have been 9-10 years ago. Still relevant. You're putting that extra income that you have, that discretionary income that you have, that I got an extra $200. What am I doing? I had an extra $500. What am I doing? I have an opportunity to buy season tickets. What team am I going to invest in? The Rays are third. I don't give a shit what ratings are on the radio or TV or anything else. When we have discussions about these teams, the ratings are not where it's at because baseball is a set it and forget it. It's like the Ronco rotisserie oven in the 90s. You put the game on, you walk away, and you do whatever the hell else you're going to do. That's the way it goes. It's 3 hours in and out. You could pop in, you could pop out. You watch the game casually. The ratings will always be good, especially on the radio. Hockey, you have to pay attention because you can miss a ton of shit. But there's no way that you can tell me, regardless of what the ratings are, that people feel that the Rays are more loyal to them than the Tampa Bay Lightning. Not one person, even if you're a season ticket holder for the Rays. And that's got to change. And the way that it changes is you put everything you got behind Junior Caminero. He has already shown that he's not melt under the bright lights. You got to do it. You got to prove yourself to the fan base because I'm still not sold. I'm not sold on this team. I want to be, but I'm not. All right. Before we get to Erik Erlendsson, lightninginsider.com, I want to mention our guy. This Robert Thomas deal going to Buffalo, it's got to happen eventually. All right. I want to mention our guy, Bryan Hodgson, USF men's basketball. I was there on Sunday. Big win. Again, Wes Enos, who's been on our show before, Isaiah Nelson, who's been on our show before, Coach Bryan Hodgson has been on our show before, clinching at least a share of the American Athletic Conference regular season title. This team, and I told you from the beginning, is one of the best teams to watch in all of college basketball. They get up and down the floor. They shoot threes. A guy like Isaiah Nelson, the effort that he plays with on a day in, day out, night in, night out basis, it's just, and you saw him right here on the show last week. That's the type of guy you want to root for. That's the type of guy you want to support here in the Tampa Bay area. Tampa Bay's home for hoops, the University of South Florida. The women win last night, senior night. They have been incredible. I think undefeated at home this year for Coach Michelle Woods-Baxter. They've clinched third place in the conference. I think they start next Thursday. The men just keep taking care of business. You'll be number one. But why? And how? How has this happened for Coach Bryan Hodgson? How has he been able to be so successful in year one? I think one of the biggest reasons is the way that he has embraced the legacy and the foundation built by the late, great Amir Abdur-Rahim. And we found out on social media that the CEO of athletics, Rob Higgins, he's the one that tweeted it out. And he said after the win on Sunday that the first thing that Coach Hodgson did was recognize Amir. It's still tough to talk about, Coach. Because when you meet somebody that reminds you of like your dad and your grandfather and the values that were instilled in you as a young person, and then he's saying that in a college basketball press conference, you're just like, I'm grateful to be raised the way I was raised. And I'm grateful to be sitting in this chair listening to Amir, because that is not just the words of a great basketball coach. That's the words of a great leader of young men. And there's a lot of different ways that you can go about coming in after a guy like Amir Abdur-Rahim. And you can kind of touch on it. You could be respectful. And you can just kind of go about it in a way of like, that was his legacy. I need to build mine. No disrespect, but that was his path. This is my path. And I don't think you can fault somebody for looking at it that way, because it's not easy. It's not easy to do it the way that Coach Bryan Hodgson has done it. The way that he has picked up the torch from Amir Abdur-Rahim. And he still, to this day, harkens the same mantra, the same attitude, the same just respect for the game as Amir did. It takes a special human being to go about it in that way. Again, as impressed as I am about Coach Bryan Hodgson, like as the coach, as impressed I am about Bryan Hodgson as a coach, I'm way more impressed with him as a man and as a leader of young men, as a father, as a guy that is just, he's the right guy. He is the perfect guy to come in here and to follow in the footsteps of Amir Abdur-Rahim. There is no way that Amir Abdur-Rahim is not looking down, beaming, smiling from eye to eye, and saying, good on you, Coach B. And I see all the messages on social media, former players, former coaches, friends of Amir, Amir's brother, Sharif, Lee Butler, who does such an incredible job with USF, and all like showing love to Coach Bryan Hodgson and also recognizing and respecting and showing that love to Coach Amir. It's not awkward. It's not weird. It's right. It's perfect. Bryan Hodgson has been the perfect guy to come in here and lead this USF men's basketball team. And a lot of the things that he says and a lot of the things that you hear from the players sounds an awful lot like the stuff we heard from Amir and his players. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Coach Ben Fletcher, who had to step in last season in the 11th hour after Amir passed and kind of held it together for that team. And those boys fought their freaking ass off. They fought their ass off. Wasn't the greatest year when it comes to record, but how do you blame them? It wasn't about wins and losses last year. It was about banding together and sticking through it and honoring Coach in the way they played. And that's exactly what they did. And now, I know you only have CJ, and I know Deontay hasn't played this year because he's been injured, but CJ was a guy that ultimately came here because of Amir Abdur-Rahim and stayed with Coach Bryan Hodgson. He announced that on the day he was introduced as the head basketball coach of USF. And there's just these little parts, right? When I look at over at the Amir Abdur-Rahim student section, and Lee Butler is another great example. And, you know, I saw a tweet the other day from former VP of athletics and now the sports, our guy, Michael Kelly from the Naval Academy now, their athletic director. And just seeing all these different messages and all these different notes. And it just, that's the great thing about sports. The great thing about sports is that you can't script things like this. You can't script the legacy that Amir Abdur-Rahim left here in 1 year. The impact that he had on everybody. How he was buying donuts and buying coffee and doing all these different things. And then here comes Coach Bryan Hodgson. Firing up the fans. Buying beers for people. Embracing the legacy of Coach Amir. Gotta love it. That's why we love Tampa. That's why we love USF. So a salute to Coach Bryan Hodgson. You are the perfect guy for this team. Before we get to Erik Erlendsson, lightinginsider.com, Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, for all your residential and commercial needs, 813-244-0956. Go to thehonesthammer.com, thehonesthammer@gmail.com. Shoot them an email. Kitchen, bathroom renovations, they can help you out. They're the best. Again, I was over at a job site last week with Hammer. Top-notch stuff. And he was giving me all the background of all the things that need to go down as he's the brand new custom build for a single woman with just her and her daughter. And there were so many different bedrooms. I think it was a 5-4. Incredible stuff. TheHonestHammer.com. EverHealth.org, 17 different locations in Pinellas County. Again, the EverHealth Injury Report tomorrow at 12:30 with our guy, Dr. Carlos Rodriguez. Everything from the cradle to the grave, they can help you out. Go check them out. Sliding scale for the uninsured. And they take all kinds of insurance. And you can go to the EverHealth Institute and have a similar kind of thing that I was doing with the broadcasting school as well. Everhealth.org. Again, for both those companies, tell them that you're right here on the Jay Recher podcast. All right, it's Wednesday, 1 o'clock. You know what that means. It's the Icelandic Warrior, LightningInsider.com's own Erik Erlendsson joins us on the program. What's up, Double Eski?
Good afternoon, I guess it is.
Afternoon.
Is it afternoon? It is afternoon.
101. Yeah, man. How are things? You got a haircut? Looks good.
Yeah, I did. It's time. You get to a certain age and the long hair just doesn't feel good anymore.
Yeah, you got to tighten it up a little bit, man. Just like the Lightning need to tighten it up a little bit. Can't really put too. I said it. I don't know if it gets a little worse before it gets better here. It seems you watch a lot of hockey, and I've been watching a lot of hockey. There's like these games where everything's all wide open. It's just like it just seems like the next 7 or 10 days is going to take almost most of the teams in the NHL to kind of like rectify everything that was going wrong, right? And just kind of knock off the rust.
Yeah, Coop made an interesting point on Monday before they left that, the Lightning had 8 players play for 7 different teams at the Olympics. So they're playing with different players, different teammates, different coaches, different systems, like a lot of difference, kind of going through their head. And you almost have to kind of retrain the brain. I mean, he even used the thought that our team looks like we did in October coming out of training camp, right? Yeah. He's right. I mean, even Chief said it on the broadcast, on one of the, I think on Saturday's game against Buffalo, that they look like the team in October. And, so it's going to take a little bit, but I got to tell you, just like we said in October, there's no overreaction like hockey overreaction.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, look, I know they've lost 3 games in a row. They've allowed 16 goals in the last 3 games. That's not good, obviously. But like all the Chicken Littles start coming out and, oh my gosh, this team sucks. It's time to bench this guy. It's time to trade that guy. I don't understand why there's not a little bit more patience in an 82-game season.
Erik, I think you had the best tweet last night when somebody said that they need to call up 2 goalies and sit down Vazzy.
Holy overreaction, Batman.
Unbelievable. The fires are out. Everybody's willing to get rid of this guy and that guy. I'm like, I don't really. It is what it is.
I understand. Like, we expect more from this team. There's no doubt, but they were 19-1-1 going into the break, and they beat Toronto coming out of the break. So they won 20 of their previous 22 games. You knew a slide like this was going to hit. I feel like every year in March, I have the same speech. Relax.
Yeah.
Relax. They're not in danger of missing the playoffs. They're not a playoff bubble team.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have, when you have that type of a run, and certainly the Olympic break disrupted things. There's no doubt about it. And they've got to work the way to get to it. One of the issues is that they don't have a lot of practice time. 16 games in 29 days in the month of March, right? They had a practice Monday. They're actually practicing today in Minneapolis and St. Paul before they head to Winnipeg. After that, I don't know when their next practice is going to be, right? Because they are literally playing almost every other day, and then you get a couple of back-to-backs thrown in there. So they're going to have to find a way to work through this in some different measures than they would like to. They would love to get on the ice and work through it. And the other part of that, too, is when they did practice on Monday, it was really the first mostly full practice they'd had in over a month, right?
Mhm.
The last practice they had was February 4th, the day before the final game before the break against the Panthers. And then everybody went off to the Olympics and guys were coming back from the Olympics. And, the three guys who participated in the medal games didn't participate in practice. Their first was a morning skate. And even, some of those guys didn't participate in the morning skate, right? So you haven't had everybody together. Like we talk, hey, the band's back together. Not really, because they haven't had a chance to get together and rehearse.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. When you look at this team, and we're getting closer to the trade deadline, I said earlier, Eric, I think the fact that they are struggling can help out a little bit, because I think it kind of shows some of the warts of this team, right? It's kind of when people keep asking, oh, the trade deadline's coming up, they're 21-1. It's hard to look at what's wrong with this team when they win 20 of 22. I mean, we all said, all right, you can go get a faceoff guy, right-handed shot, but also you can kind of see maybe some of the flaws that this team has when they're on a little bit of a 3-game losing streak. When you look at this team, now that we've seen them not at their best and we understand the reasons why, as we get closer to the trade deadline, what do you think is a possibility for Julien Brisebois as far as rectifying, maybe not a specific player, but top 6, bottom 6 defense? What do you think?
Well, I don't wonder if the injury to Dominic James changed their thought process a little bit. And we saw Connor Geekie come up and play last night against Minnesota. They've been rumored to be in the market for a right-hand shot defenseman, right? Which I can see, because they don't have the depth, especially with Max Crozier out for the rest of the regular season. They don't have the depth that they thought that they had there, or they had there before the injury to him. I still think it's a middle 6 forward. That's somebody that's right-hand shot, somebody that can win some faceoffs, right? Like, to me, I think that's, if you're going to identify the biggest area, I still think that's what it is. And, certainly Oliver Bjorkstrand continues to take heat, and he had a breakaway chance last night when it was a 1-0 game, had a chance to tie the game, didn't come through. He's playing on top power play. 8 of his 10 goals have come on the power play this year. He's second on the team in power play goals, but he still doesn't look comfortable on that power play, even though they have to have him. I mean, it's one of the conversations I had with somebody last night on social media. They've got to move Bjorkstrand off power play 1. No, you can't. Unless there's a deal, you can't do it. That power play needs a right-handed shot on that side of the ice. And right now they have 3 right-handed shot forwards on this roster. One is Braden Point, one is Oliver Bjorkstrand, the other is Scott Sabrin. Those are your only 3 right-hand shots that you have. So you have to have a righty over there to make that power play work. And it's worked because they have at least a threat over there. And, because Darren Radish has kind of unlocked everything with his ability to shoot and get pucks through. Right. So to me, I think it's a middle 6 kind of guy. Right. And I think it has to be somebody that can play center, that can be shifted to center, that can take draws. To me, and I've thought that for a while. I don't think these past 3 games have changed my mind on anything, because you look, even last night, self-inflicted. Right. That's the thing. It was kind of like early in the year, too. They were losing games because it was self-inflicted. Now, they were losing games late and losing 1-goal games. Last night was 5-1, empty netter involved in it. But, you took 3 high-sticking penalties. You took a too many men in the ice call. You took 3 of those in succession. That gave Minnesota a 4-on-3 in which they converted to make it 2-0. The gaff by Vasilevsky that led to the 3rd goal, which was a backbreaker. You just got yourself into the game and you let that one in. We're just not used to seeing that. So a lot of the issues are continuing to be self-inflicted. And so I don't know how much 3 straight losses has swayed the way I view this team and what their potential needs are as we look towards Friday.
If you bring in a middle 6 forward, does that automatically mean that Oliver Bjorkstrand is on his way out?
If you're going to make salary work, potentially.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, is there any way that they bring in a middle 6 forward and Oliver Bjorkstrand stays with this team? I just don't I think if you bring in a bottom 6 guy, right, somehow, because I know Cole Smith was a guy, I don't know how much that makes sense. But if you bring in a lower end guy that's only making around $1 million, I don't think that automatically means that Bjorkstrand is out. But let's say if you do get a middle 6 guy, then I think you would have to make the money work, and also for the spot to work. I think you move Bjorkstrand out.
I mean, it's easier said than done,
Right.
right? Which means you're going to have to give up more assets. Say, hey, you need to take this contract off our hands. So it's it's interesting to kind of how this is all going to work because we thought Julian had a little bit more cap space than he normally has to work with at the trade deadline, and then they've had all these injuries. It's kind of chipped away and eaten away at the cap space. I think it's about 3.1 million in trade deadline day cap space that they have available, and that's not even talking about Nick Paul, right? Whenever he comes back, which I guess when I asked about him the other day, John Cooper said he's progressing. So that means he's probably been out on the ice on his own. He's not practicing with the team. We'll see what happens today when the team practices up in Minnesota. But yeah, it feels like that has to be the situation that, if you're going to bring salary in, salary has to go out. And he's certainly the candidate. He's a pending UFA. He just hasn't seemed to be a fit here, for all this season. He was just starting to find his game before he got injured last year. And that was a pretty gruesome injury. I know we've talked about it before. They kind of had to deal with. I don't think that's affecting him. I think that he's fine physically. And I've had, plenty of conversations with Oliver throughout the year.
Such
and
a nice
he
guy,
seems
man.
fine. Yeah.
Such a nice guy.
So it feels like if you're going to bring salary in, that's the most likely. But if that's the case, and that means more futures that you're going to have to part ways with to make a deal work. So Julian's in a little bit of a crunch in terms of trying to make things work. And really, it's been pretty slow, right? We thought there'd be a great rush coming back from the Olympic break to get things done. And it just hasn't been that way for whatever reason around the league. And I know Tyler Myers got moved to Dallas today, and we saw a couple of moves coming right out of the break. But it hasn't been the flurry. And I guess the only guys happy about that right now are the guys from TSN, who always seem to have nothing to do on trade deadline day because all the moves have already been made. But this year doesn't seem to be the case.
What did you see from Connor Geekie last night?
I didn't notice him a lot. It was playing 11-7. He's paired with Sabourin. And then, Sabourin gets a 10-minute misconduct. Now they're down to 10. So he kind of gets lost a little bit, picking up a couple of shifts here and there, in terms of how he can get on the ice. Sometimes not being noticed isn't a bad thing, right? I think we wanted to see more. I think we wanted to see a guy hungry to get back to the NHL. I don't think we saw enough of that last night from him. A couple of shots. Carried the puck, I think, with some authority on a couple of opportunities that he did have to get up the ice. But for the size that he has, I think we wanted to see him use the size a little bit more. Again, I felt that he should have looked hungrier to be here, and I didn't see that. And that doesn't mean it won't come. But he's had a great year in Syracuse. Obviously, he leads the team in assists. He's second in points. He was an all-star at the AHL game, AHL All-Star game. And there's a future. They love Connor Geekie. I had a chance to catch up with JP Cote, their new director of player development, and couldn't rave about how much Connor has improved at the AHL level and called him an elite player at the AHL level. So we'll see what happens tomorrow in Winnipeg, and what kind of lineup they put on the ice. But I want to see Connor be a little bit more aggressive in his approach to the game.
I'm with you. I didn't think he looked very fast at all last night, and that's one of the things I was really looking for. I mean, when you have Barb Underhill working with your organization, he's got to get better skating. I mean, the play that Victor Hedman kind of tried to spring him there, it looked like he was skating in mud. And I think this is on the Lightning too, E. I mean, this is a guy that he's a top 6 forward. And part of the reason why he wasn't with his team all year long is because you want him to play top 6 minutes. You don't want to have him in and out of the lineup. And then you put him in the lineup and you're playing with Scott Sabourin in 11-7. Like, I think the team is at fault as well, too, by not putting him in a position to succeed. Do you agree that over this next week, if he's here, next week and a half, that at some point they got to give him somewhat of an extended run, whether it's either Hagel or Cirelli or Point and Kucherov?
I don't disagree in some aspects, but also you got to earn your ice time too, right?
Right.
I mean, that's part of the meritocracy philosophy is to, you have to earn it. Okay. That's what I'm saying. If you're come up and you're hungry, you don't care where you play. You're going out and you're establishing yourself, right? And then you force the coaching staff to move you up, right? That's kind of the way where it's Dominic James, right? Kind of forced his way up, and injuries played a part into it. But, you saw the hunger in Dominic James and the way that he could assert himself in the game. And so it's kind of a two-way street. It's which comes first, the chicken or the egg, which comes first, top six role, or do you earn your top six role, right? Like, so there's part of that as well. I mean, there's no doubt they wanted him to develop down in the AHL, playing top 6 minutes, being counted on in every situation, to work on a lot of parts of his game. And he has. Now that just has to translate to the NHL level. And that's where you have to add, do you, because he's still just 21. Do you say, okay, Connor, here's your top 6 role? Or do you say, okay, this is where you're starting, show me something, right? So there's always kind of two ways to kind of go about that and look at it.
But haven't they done that? That's what I'm saying. Like, that's it's different now because we've seen him already, right? Like, it's just kind of weird. You would want him to try to prove himself at the level, because not everybody can do that, right? Remember, we had this conversation with Alex Barré-Boulet, right? Or there's other guys that just seem like they're better in top 6 roles than bottom 6 roles. And you would ideally want somebody to be like a Dominic James where it doesn't matter, but not everybody's like that, right? You would love for a baseball player like, man, you're fast, you should be able to bat leadoff, but that doesn't always happen. Some guys overthink it. So I'm hoping, I'm with you, man. It is kind of like the chicken and the egg scenario, and hopefully they play it the right way, because to say that he's 21, you can only say that for a couple more years. He's got to figure out, he's got to find his identity sooner rather than later. So something that Darren Radish might be looking for a JJ Moser type deal to stay with the Tampa Bay Lightning. I don't know if you saw that or not. If that is the number that he's going to want, and I think it's under $7 million, do you think that makes it feasible for him to be able to return to the Lightning next year? Because I think if he goes in the open market, he can make more.
It's hard to see the Lightning being able to absorb that type of a hit for another defenseman. And with the contracts that Hedman has and Moser has, and McDonough to some extent, I know his extension kicks in next year. It'll, a little bit less than what he's making now. But essentially the Moser and the McDonough contracts kind of swap a little bit. I think there's an $800,000 difference between Moser this year and McDonough next year. That just feels like a high number for me to retain him. And because here's the other thing, right? Like, who's been one of the biggest players affected by the time off? It's been Darren Radish. He struggled. Yeah. He struggled a little bit coming out there. So that's why when we had a chance to talk to Julian back in January, he basically wanted to see, I want to see more of a sample size. He's had a great run. He's had a great season. He's put himself into a great position. But is that Darren Radish moving forward, or is it a different version of Darren Radish moving forward? And I think that's what you really have to look at, right? And evaluate because contracts like that could be cap killers, right? Because if he's the same guy he was 3 years ago, and he's not, but if he plays at that level, and all of a sudden now you're stuck with a contract that you're probably not going to be able to move. Right. So to me, that feels like a lot of money for Darren Radish to stay here. Certainly he'd love to do it. This organization gave him the opportunity to be in this position. But, we've seen certainly from Julian and the front office staff that they're not afraid to let guys move on if it doesn't fit their cap.
Yeah. What do you make about that? I was talking about him with Mike Evans before and Junior Caminero, and how much do you think that factors into guys and their legacy of staying with one team the whole time? Because it's easy for the fans to be like, oh, just take the hometown discount. He loves it here. And I feel like fans they think too much with their heart, right? And they think, oh, well, that guy wants to stay here. And I think at the end of the day, and I listened to what Julian had to say, like life-changing contract. When he says something like that, I don't know if you'd say something like that unless it's almost like an out, right? If we can't keep him, it's because he's going to get a life-changing contract elsewhere, right? It kind of read between the lines. What do you make of that? Because I know it's a lot easier for fans when they're thinking with their hearts, so I'll just stay here. And ideally they want their best player to start and finish their career in the same place.
Sure, of course. It's we just have to look back 2 years ago with the situation with Steven Stamkos, right? The legacy factor of it. But it's easy for those on the outside who don't live in that world to say just take the home team discount, where again we don't live in that world, so our perspectives are completely different. And it's high profile athletes and athletes even of Radish's, like for Darren it is, right? He kind of worked his way through the minors, making minor league money for a lot of years. And it's good money, but it's not life-changing money. It's not setting you up for your life, right? Whereas now he's put himself in position. Sure, he's making $1 million, which is a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. But in terms of a pro athlete, he's on the lower end. So his next contract is going to change his life in terms of what he can do moving forward for his family and everything else, right? So it's easy for anybody on the outside to say, well, hey, what's the difference between 5 million and 6 million? Well, over the course of a 5-year contract, that's you're talking a significant amount of money to do it. So I don't know. I don't ever question or give too much of a hard time to athletes who want to get the bigger payday because they've earned it. If they have the opportunity to earn it, and that's what Darren Radish has here. Certainly, he'd love to stay here. There's no doubt about it. He's really found himself a home over the years that he's been here, and really worked his way through, worked with the coaching staff, used all of the tools that the organization provides for players to make themselves better, and he's taken advantage of it, and he's turned himself into a player who can make this kind of money. I don't begrudge him if he's willing to take $2 million more per year over the course of a 4-year contract somewhere else, because he's earned that right.
No doubt about it. Double E, what's going on with lightninginsider.com? I saw the big message yesterday, the day before.
Yeah, so for 9 years, the price has stayed the same. Haven't changed it, even though the cost of maintaining the site has risen, the fees to collect the money has risen. I had to rebuild the site, a couple of years ago, and the prices remain the same. And if I want to continue to do this, I have to try and make a little bit more to make it feasible. And so the prices are going up. It's effective on Friday. It's going to be $49.99 a year and $5.99 a month. So not a massive jump in it. And, so those who are currently under, you already have a subscription, you'll see that price increase on your next renewal if it comes after Thursday. So that's effective starting Friday. And, there's something up on the website. You can read it for people who it's a free read. There's nothing behind a paywall on that one to kind of see some of the reason and the rationale on why I did it after 9 years. And so far, the response has been positive. I'm encouraged by that, because one of the fears I had for years of raising the prices is it would turn too many people away. And so far, that hasn't been the case. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But, I hesitated to do it. But in order to keep this going, I kind of have to do it at this point.
You got to make a living, bro. And I think everybody knows that, you're not doing it to, squeeze every last drop out of everybody else. You got to do it to make it, you can't do this shit for free. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
And like I said last week, right, in order to keep me coming on your show and on Lightning Radio and everything else, where I can kind of offer some of this insights and everything else, that's part of the subscription as well, right? Is to keep me involved in it like this, and to provide information and provide insight, and to give you stories like the Curse of Dan Cloutier, which people can go read up on the website from last night. And, the specter that caught up with Andrei Vasilevsky on that goal last night. It's the only rational or irrational explanation onto why that puck bounced off of Andrei Vasilevsky's glove. So people can read that up there too. And again, it keeps me involved in every aspect of what it is I do involved covering this team, not just the website.
That's right. All right. Does the promo code still work?
It should. If it doesn't, I'll have to check with the guy who's
we'll get back.
Me out
we'll get back to you guys on the promo code.
But should nothing should change. The only thing that should change is the pricing point. So the coupon should still be the code should still be good.
Use that promo code JNZ, guys. JNZ, lightninginsider.com. Subscribe. Help out our guy. Member support logo. We talk about a lot. E has said it on social media. I say it every time you see me retweeting something from Erik. It's usually, about either one of the great stories and just we got to help our guys. We got to help out our guys here locally. Erik's been covering the Lightning longer than everybody. So we would not be able to talk about the Lightning with that same type of in-depth analysis and just historic recollection if Erik wasn't with us. So please do what you can. Birthday gifts, you're looking for something different for a Lightning fan, especially when the team is playing as well as they have this year, knowing that the playoffs are right around the corner. Like, this is when you really want to make sure that you're supporting all of our Lightning people, but especially Erik, lightninginsider.com. JayRicherPodcast.com. Double E, you're the man, my brother. Next home game is when?
Tuesday.
Next Tuesday?
Columbus, the red hot Columbus Blue Jackets.
Oh, God. Who would have
Rick
thought?
Bonus and company.
Rick Bonus, my guy. Erik Erlendsson, Erik_Erlendsson. That's a K, not a C. 2 S's after the D. I'll see you on Tuesday, and we'll talk to you again next Wednesday. Again, everybody out there, lightninginsider.com. You're the best, D. Thanks, buddy.
All right. Thanks, Jay. Be well, bud.
You, man. The Icelandic warrior, Erik Erlendsson, lightninginsider.com. Again, I say this a lot, man. You guys don't think that you make a difference, but when you subscribe to the Jay Recher podcast, when you donate via the super chat, $10 Steve, $5 Chan, when you get a subscription for lightninginsider.com, you may not think it's a big deal. You may think it's just dropping the bucket, but if you do it and 3 more people do it, 5 more people do it, 10 more people do it, like that's what keeps us in this, right? That's what keeps us doing this. And if you enjoy the content that we put out here in the Tampa Bay area, you want to support local. And I try to say it as much as humanly possible. Please don't ever take that message lightly. We joke around about a lot of things on the show. We talk about a lot of different things that are fun, and we don't always talk about sports, but man, I can't stress to you enough how important it is to be able to support, especially somebody like Erik, who, as much as hockey is my favorite sport, I grew up a Ranger fan, and one of the best parts of working and covering sports here in the Tampa area is working with Erik, and it's been like that for 12 years now. So he stayed at my parents' house in New York. We've covered games all across the country together, and just to sit with him and talk to him about Lightning hockey, and we obviously talk to him every Wednesday. We talk to Ed every Thursday. Like you want to be able to support great people that do a great job, right? Instead of buying Starbucks, buy a subscription to lightninginsider.com. You know what I mean? Like, is that going to make you're putting more money in the pocket of the Starbucks guys over there, and you're tipping them? Make coffee at home for once. Just one less Starbucks a week. You know what I mean? And you could spend that money on lightninginsider.com. That sounds like a fair deal, doesn't it? Does to me. All right. A big thank you to Erik Erlendsson, lightninginsider.com. I got to get ready. I got to get rolling. Beckles and Recher podcast at 2:30 today, live from the Dignitary Cafe, talking a little bit of everything over there. Tomorrow, Lightning talk with Ed Encina. We've got Lewis Hilton from the Tampa Bay Rowdies, and of course, our EverHealth injury report, Dr. Carlos Rodriguez at 12:30. Big thank you to EverHealth. Big thank you to Honest Hammer, and of course, our Carolina correspondent, Steve Garner. Chan, our guy here, you are the best. Thank you guys so much for all the love and the support. It's good to be back in the saddle, and I think I only coughed once or twice, so I'm feeling better too. All right, back tomorrow here at noon right here on the Jay Recher podcast. We'll see you.